Good evening, everyone, and welcome to an extra episode of Gundam News. Because yesterday evening, Japan time, we didn't just get the prologue, but we got a lot of other Witch from Mercury information too. And of course, I wasn't just going to wait a whole week to talk about this because, man, there was some really sweet information in here. But first, we gotta talk about Prologue. And man, was it a powerful first episode, or like episode 0, however you want to call it. It was really good. At first, everything is relatively fine as we get introduced to the main characters and the Gundam. We have Elnora, or Nora, depending on how you want to go with that, who is testing out the Gundam Lubrith. But not everything is going quite as expected due to a persistent problem that she just can't solve. Something just isn't syncing up between her and the Gundam. Therefore, the test is halted, and her daughter comes flying in her own little spacesuit with like a big plushie attached to the back, and it is absolutely adorable. But this is really just the silence before the storm, because we're quickly introduced to some serious political problems and other problems with the Gundams. They could be causing some real issues, including health issues, and this then of course translates into a mobile suits arms race for the military, of which we get to see the escalation firsthand. An escalation that is interspliced with the birthday of poor Eri. And during these scenes, we also get to see her dad, Nadim Samaya, who is one of the main engineers of the Gundam Lubrith. But now, let's talk about that animation for a second. If that animation remains just as good for the anime itself throughout its entire run, we are in for one hell of a ride. Visually speaking, Prologue looks amazing. We do have some CG here and there, but for the most part, everything looked to be done in super smooth traditional animation. And the mobile suit battle that we got at the end was nothing short of amazing. The fight between the Lubrith and the Heinguras really reminded me of the Kshatriya versus the Stark Jagan. The mobile suits that got shot down, they weren't just standing there, they weren't just stock images waiting to get shot down by the main enemy, or well, by the main hero in this case. They were actively trying to dodge it, trying to shoot down the funnels that were coming at them, even charging at the Gundam Lubrith, really reminding me of the Stark Jagan rushing the Kshatriya. And it just felt really realistic in the sense that you could feel the enemy pilots struggling to battle this thing, rather, again, than just passively standing there waiting to get shot down. And what made that fight scene even better, in a tragic sense, were the circumstances leading up to it. Eri ended up in the cockpit of the Lubrith, which is something that the lead developer, Cardo Nabo, took advantage of and activated the system in the hopes that Eri could get past the problems that her mother couldn't solve. And Eri did it. Unfortunately for her, or kind of fortunately, again, depending on how you look at it, the facility then gets attacked, prompting her mother, who was at the time looking for Eri, because of course Eri was missing, to head over to the Lubrith to sortie. So kind of fortunately, she finds Eri there, and at the same time, she also finds out what Cardo was trying to do, and succeeded in doing. And then things go from bad to worse when Elnora launches with Eri on board. Being a kid, Eri doesn't really understand what's going on, and like almost instinctively, she starts to activate the funnels, or the gun bits as they're called here, locks onto the enemies and shoots them down. I guess it's some kind of new type-esque like psycho frame thing that's going on here, because she just mentally controls the fun gun bits and shoots down those enemies. And you can see that she doesn't realize what's going on. It's for her, it's just like a video game. She locks on, shoots them down, and then she's laughing about it and commenting on how those explosions look like the candles from her birthday cake. So it's really like a childlike innocence while she is killing enemies. And you can really see that reflected in her mother's expression. On the one hand, she did just save their asses, but on the other hand, she also just can't straight up go ahead and tell her daughter, who is 4 by the way, that she just killed a bunch of people. So in the end, she just tells her that, yeah, those slides are indeed very pretty. So for an opening episode, this was definitely one of the more well done and intense battles that I've seen, just because how much they were able to put into such a small fight. And again, if all of the fights are going to be this good, we're in for one hell of a Gundam series. And then the other thing that the anime also seems to be touching upon is physical enhancement of humans through cybernetics. Although I felt that in the prologue they kind of touched upon it, but didn't really go into it yet. So maybe that is something that we're going to see expanded in the anime itself. And even the mother of Eri has a cybernetic arm. Then next week, the prologue will be coming out in English, so I highly recommend everyone to give it a shot, especially if you had any doubts about this series and felt that it might be softer than other Gundam series because of how, well, the first images looked. If they continue the trend from Prologue, this could even turn into one of the darker ones. Now then, one thing you might have noticed is that the main character from G-Witch is called Suletta Mercury, and the kid in Prologue is called Eri, despite all of the physical traits matching up perfectly, especially the very distinct eyebrows. And well, it seems highly likely that after the events of Prologue, both her and her mother changed their names due to the events that happened. But as of now, there isn't actually any official word on it. They didn't say that Eri and Suletta are or aren't the same, but at the same time, they did confirm that the voice actor for both of them is Kana Ichinose, whom you might remember as the voice for Shion Shishibe from Kyokai Senki or Yuzuriya Ogawa from Dr. Stone. And at the same time, we also got Miorine Rembrandt's voice actor, Lin, who has played one minor role in a Gundam series before. She was the voice of Kid Masahiro. Then the second piece of animation that we also got yesterday is the official trailer of the actual anime. I'll have it linked down below, and again, just like the prologue, I highly recommend you to check it out because the animation on display here is really promising. Although, unlike the prologue, we do see some character designs that, well, I could do without in a more serious anime. But on to the rest of the information that we got now. So the main machine of Prologue is the Lubrith, and the main technology behind it is something that is called Gund, which I think is then developed into the Gund arm technology that is used in the Lubrith, which then might be the in-universe explanation for what makes a Gundam a Gundam. It uses the Gund arm system, Gundam Gundam. And it could also be the thing that produced those negative effects that caused the commotion about Gundams, which is also part of the thing that I tweeted about. Gundam took my child's life. Then it comes armed with a powerful beam rifle and a shield that can split into those gun bits that we talked about earlier. And then what I absolutely loved was that they also showed us a mass production version, or at the very least, the trial version of the mass production machine. The main differences with the main unit are no V-fin, a color scheme that is very inspired by the new Gundam mass production type, and also a different backpack that consists mostly of 2 binders holding gun bits. So a mass production Gundam that I highly approve of. And what it also shares with the Lubrith and the Gundam Apparel is that the chest can light up with some kind of pattern. And this seems to be connected to the pilot inside and increases their performance at the cost of their physical health. Like, when the system activates, you can hear that the pilot gets short of breath, and we can also see some kind of pattern forming on their face. At first, I thought it was just like reflection from their monitor panel or something, but then when I looked a bit closer, you can also see people hospitalized in Prologue, and they also had that pattern on their face. So maybe that has something to do with those negative side effects that the Gundams are producing. Which then also immediately made me wonder if those people who were against the Gundams had a point. Again, I really like what Prologue is doing here. Then there's also the Beguir-Beu, which we got to see in action. Chef's kiss, that was also a great fight. And as you could see, it is a high-performance machine used by the Special Forces Dominicus Corps. So I think we're definitely going to see a lot more of this machine in action. And then the main machine used by that Dominicus Corps is the Haingura. And that is all we know about it so far, other than the fact that it's named after the company that made it, the Haingura Gurazri company. So I guess that could become the Haingura Glasly company. And then I've also got a few bits of extra information to add on here that I got from the Gundam VIP event at Anime Expo. Rather than a full-length anime, it's going to be a 25-episode anime, and they did also confirm that it will have a different feel from the traditional Gundam anime, as in that it is going to focus more on school. But as you could see in the prologue and the trailer, I don't think that is going to take away from it being a good Gundam series. Moving on to the Gunpla news then, and my god did we get a lot of new Gunpla announcements and some other really cool stuff too. First of all, we got the finalized information for the Gundam Apparel, which we'll be releasing in October. It'll go for 1,430 yen, around 10 US, and it's got some pretty cool gimmicks going for it. The shield can separate into 10-bit staves, and 2 of those gun staves can be attached to the beam rifle. And then the aforementioned system on the chest is going to be replicated extremely nicely on the model kit. Rather than just being a sticker you put on there, it is actually going to be molded inside of the piece through a process they're calling in-molding. And with the Lubrith, it's going to be a very similar story. It's also got the same technology for the chest, and the shield can separate into 7-bit staves that can then connect to the beam rifle and the backpack. Now, one thing I'm not 100% sure on what's going on is that they said earlier that the shield was made out of gun bits, but now they're being called gun staves when they're talking about the model kit. So maybe gun bit is the name for the weapon system, and then the gun staves are the individual pieces that are flying around and doing their thing. But whatever the case might be, as you're probably all very aware, we will soon get this thing on August the 6th for 1,760 yen, 13 US, which is also the case for the Beguir-Beu. And the things we got confirmed for this thing are that the pod things on the backpack are called non-kinetic pods, and that the kit will come with a wire and a stand to display it. And then it was just new kit after new kit after new kit. For the high grades, in October we will get the Delonza Dual Custom and the Demi Trainer, both going for 1,760 yen, 13 US. And at first I thought that this Demi Trainer mobile suit was going to be like a training mobile suit for the Hangura that we saw in the prologue, but based on the custom version that we'll cover in a second, I think that this is instead going to be just a regular mass production unit. Then in November, there is the Delanza mass production type Character A custom for also 1,760 yen, 13 US, and the Demi Trainer Character B custom for 1,540 yen, 11 US. And as a sniper machine, that Demi Trainer definitely has my attention. And I also feel like a lot of influences went into designing this thing. Like, I can see some Zaku in there, some Vodoms, some Iron-Blooded Orphans, some GBN guard frame, and of course, some Jim Sniper custom with that color scheme. And then finally in December, there is going to be the Gundam Prologue and the Daryl Barday for 2,090 yen each, 15 US. I wonder if that Daryl Barday is going to be 3 times faster than whatever mass production unit the army it belongs to uses. Also, don't be surprised if the official name of the Daryl Barday turns out to be something completely different because, well, I'm just doing my best based on the katakana that I've got. So it could even become the Dareru Vald. But anyways, we're also getting some extremely good looking figurized standard figures of both Suletta and Miorine. Both are going for 3,520 yen each, 25 US, and are slated for an October and November release respectively. Then they're also planning an SH Figuarts figure of Suletta, but I gotta be honest, despite being more detailed, I do prefer the Figurized standard figure, well, model kit. There's just something off, like something uncanny about the Figuarts figure, which fortunately isn't the case for the Figuarts Mini, which Miorine will also be getting. More information on these Figuarts figures will be coming soon. And then the last Gunpla is the SD Gundam X Standard Gundam Apparel for 660 yen, 5 US, which will be coming your way in October. And this is Editor Kakarot here to tell you about even more kits that got announced a little bit later. The Demi Trainer is getting its very own part set consisting of 2 open hands, a dagger, some connector parts, and a bunch of parts to create a large variety of guns. But it seems like you only get one handle, so no matter which configuration you go for, you will only be able to make one of them. And it goes from like a giant Gatling gun to a beam rifle to even a pile bunker or a circular saw. Because why not? It'll set you back 880 yen, 6 US, and it's currently slated for a December release. And Michaela's got its high grade announced, but there is nothing to show for it yet. Continuing with the figures then, in November we'll be getting the Robot Damashi Sight MS Gundam Apparel version anime for 7,700 yen, 55 US, which will also be coming with some very nice effect parts and action-based parts for the shield. And in January of 2023, we'll be getting the Chogokin Gundam Apparel for 24,200 yen, 175 US. Again, more information will be coming later. Then there were also some more miscellaneous goods, like the G-Witch Ichiban Kuji Lottery that was confirmed for mid-November, the Mobile Suit Ensemble 23 Gundam Apparel, the fact that the Gundam Apparel will be appearing in the Arsenal Base arcade game, and of course, it wouldn't be Gundam news without some apparel. For 3,850 yen, 28 US, you can get a full color t-shirt of the Lubrith or the Beguir-Beu, and for 3,520 yen, 25 US, you can get a t-shirt with both of them in black and white. Pre-orders for all 3 of them started on the 14th over at P Bandai, and they're currently slated for a September release. And that has been all for this special Gundam news episode. So let me know down below what you thought about the prologue and the new trailer. Did it give you a good feeling or not? And also let me know down below which Gunpla you're looking forward to the most. As for me personally, I'm super looking forward to the Lubrith, and I am especially hoping that we will get a confirmation for a model kit of the Lubrith mass production type. Preferably non-P Bandai. So as always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great evening, and I'll see you all next week with more Gundam news.